Test 1, 2, 3. Hear me out there now? Jay? All right, perfect. All right, start gathering in here. I'm not sure who's going to show up. We didn't send out a sales meeting notice last week like we were supposed to, right? We kind of, it was in the outbox. So we'll see how many people we have here. So Home Services Insurance has breakfast back there, right? So stop by, say hi, get a quote. Quick video, man, it is slim pickings, but that's okay. This will be fast. And it's the last day of school. Got it. Those damn kids. Quick little video. Muhammad Ali's coming up on, what is it, the 6-year anniversary of his passing away. So Christy picked this, and Gina picked this out for me. So thank you. You have a top 10 list. You do. I know. Maggie?
You want to keep calling me a white man's name? I'm not white. Mr. Muhammad Ali has just refused to be inducted into the United States Armed Forces. I'm just about broke. I'm not allowed to work here now in America.
I'm going to fight, not for me, but to uplift my little brother so he's sleeping in concrete floors today in America. I'm going to float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. George came here what his eyes couldn't see. All these jokes are going to bow when I'm looking. All of you, I know you got him. I know you got him picked. But the man's in cover. I'm going to show you how great I am.
Bluffed him, I'd done everything. Beat him up. Basically for about 5 or 6 rounds. I thought it was easy. Then about the 6th round, he whispered in my ear after I hit him in the side. That's all you got, George?
He was courageous. He knows to take risks. Congress never right. When you were a kid, you always bet certain fellas, I'm gonna be champion one day. And when I'm champion, I'm gonna come back and show you I'm wrong. Another said, guys, I'm gonna be a great doctor one day, and I'm gonna be a dentist, I'm gonna be a great scientist, I'm gonna be a president of the country. And but very few people actually are able to make good of the boast and come home and say, I told you.
Those of you know I love Ali. I actually think he was almost greater after boxing, right? He wasn't the most loved person in the world during boxing. Where's our last light? Thank you, thank you. I always remember that 96 Olympic thing when he was up there doing that torch. So Brian Thomas, for those of you who've not been around for years, used to get up and do top 10s. Now we have one that I've not seen, which scares the shit out of me because only God knows what's in this thing. So are you going to read it or am I going to read it? It's for me to read because I'm being roasted, I'm pretty sure. Maggie? I'm reading this. I have no clue. You would think if I'm getting roasted, the person roasting me would read it, right? Oh, shit. All I know is I'm not 74, though. Brian had a birthday this weekend, huh? We can play that game. All right, all right, all right. Glad to be alive. The top 10 ways you can tell Vince is getting really, really old. Lately, Vince has been seen wearing Spanx under his t-shirts and pajama bottoms in the office. There's nothing wrong with the pajama bottoms, Brian. Whatever happened to the cute jeans with little holes? I know you're jealous. I know you're jealous. Number 9, he traded his puka shells for a life alert. You would know. Number 8, he's getting more forgetful these days as he's forgotten where his office is. And sadly, Vince is getting lost more and more somewhere in the Caribbean. And we pray that he continues to do that. Number 7, Shannon commented, age is just a number. He looks as good as he ever did with the lights off. Too bad she's not here to see this. Number 6, build a home in a retirement community in Florida. True statement. True statement. Brian would know, he's down the street. Vince's new definition of an all-nighter means not getting up to pee. That would be a good one, let me tell you. I think that started at 50, though. Number 4, he gets pissed when strangers ask if Shannon's his daughter. A little below the belt, I think. There's no belt in the pajama bottom. Number 3, he is considering changing the name of the Young Gun Award to the Whisper Snapper Award. Whipper Snapper Award. Number 2, you know you're 60 when getting lucky means a short wait at the doctor's office. That is true. That is true. And number 1, Brian, read it.
And the number 1 way you can tell Vince is getting really, really old. He stores his Viagra.
And what's wrong with that? Lots of sex. Oh boy. I knew there was a reason we stopped the top 10 list. Thank you, Brian. Thank you.
From the heart.
It's from the heart. Now I got tears in my eyes. I can't read what I'm supposed to read here. Christy, hopefully, weather permitting, Thursday and Friday, we're going to tape off. We need to tape off the front parking lot because we're going to have them come and sweep it and repaint the stripes on this. We used to do that every 3 years, so we're a little behind on that. So we will get that done. If not, it'll get, yeah, not today.
And it won't be all day. You'll be able to park there until around 4. We'll just tape it off, but then work starts at like 5:30.
Yeah. So if the weather doesn't permit, then it'll just get pushed back to Thursday and Friday, hopefully, right?
Right. We were looking at Wednesday, Thursday. Now we're looking at.
So Memorial Day. So Monday, no staff here. Over the weekend, we won't have a Saturday staff either. So for Memorial Day, I hope everyone enjoys it. Get away, be a family, enjoy. Sunshine Kids, Josh or Ashley, do either one of you want to say anything? We still have some spots left on that. Ashley, do you want to chat real quick about that? You want to get her a mic? And while she's coming up here, the first company grill out is going to be Thursday, June 16th. Bring kids, bring significant others. we're going to try to have as many of those as possible this summer.
So the golf tournament is June 15th at Tiburon for Sunshine Kids. We have about 10 teams available. If there's anybody that still wants to sign up, we have about 20 hole sponsor availability. If anybody has any, if you yourself want to sponsor a hole, we've had several agents that do that. Or if you have anybody else in the business that wants to sponsor.
So how many total? We got 10 left. How many total?
54, we have a total of 54 slots available.
So 44 teams already full.
Yes. And it's $500 a team. If you want to prepay, the extra $100 gets you your raffle tickets, your mulligans, and just it eliminates some of the chaos the morning of. So that's an extra $100 that you can pay for at sign up.
Thank you. Grab you if they want to sign up.
We'll have Christy send out the link again. It's all online.
Okay, thank you. All right, Mamie, the art of the ask, and we're talking about Sunshine Kids.
And I'll make this short. And I'm not going to ask you to sleep with anyone to get a donation. Evidently, people took me seriously. Okay. On some of the seats out there is something that's called the art of the ask. And we think it's funny because Vince always jokes that we don't even ask for business ourselves. So actually, when I was looking at this, you can actually turn this around and use it for real estate to ask for business too. So this is going to help you in your business. But so for the Sunshine Kids, we talked about getting donations. Why can't I see anything?
I know, because you're not far behind me.
Hey now. Okay, so the art of the ask. So getting donation items, when we started talking about it afterwards, we realized this is a very mixed bag of agents who weren't here for the last, I don't know how many years,
4
like
years
some of
ago.
us, 17 years like some of us. So how many people even know what the Sunshine Kids is or does it, or who doesn't know? Does everybody really know? Then what the hell's going on? You know what it's about. You can ask for stuff. So the art of the ask talks about just what you need to do to ask for donations. And I know it can be uncomfortable. So we always ask that you start with people you know. Hence last time we were talking about your family members, close friends. I bought a car yesterday and they're like, hey, do you want some swag? And I'm like, what I really want. And I kind of went into what I wanted for the Sunshine Kids. So instead I got a $200 Land Rover Defender Lego set that you can only get at Land Rover. It's super cool. It's like the cutest Lego thing I've ever
So
seen.
buy a car, get a gift. For the
Buy a
Sunshine
car.
Kids.
Everyone go out and buy a car. But you can get things. So anyway, this art of the ask just kind of pinpoints some of the things you should do when you're asking someone. Be upfront. Tell them what you're looking for. Be specific. Like if I went to Carrie and said, hey, Carrie, I'm working on a fundraiser. It's for children with cancer. It's an amazing organization. Would you make a donation? She's like, of blood, kidney, what do you need? So be specific. If she's a restaurant owner, hey, I'd love to get a $100 gift card from your restaurant or something like that. And it talks about, go start big. I'd love to get a $200 gift card. Well, I can give you a $100 gift card. Just doing some of those basic things. Again, if we ask for 100 or 200 and we get 100, that's great. We'd love it. If we get 50, that's great. And restaurant people know, and if you're in the business, a $50 gift card is not going to pay for my entire meal. They know that they're going to get more money out of me when I get there. So restaurants do this all the time. If you've been to fundraisers, that's something you see a lot of. Be knowledgeable about the organization. We're going to send out a link about the organization, talking about what they do. The Sunshine Kids sends kids on trips when they're healthy enough. They send with nurses. They send them on trips so they can kind of enjoy being a kid again around other kids who are going through the same thing they go through. One of the stories, and it's always good, whether it's in real estate or this, giving anecdotes, giving stories. And I will tell you a quick story from the convention. Every year at the Berkshire Convention, there's a meeting with the top fundraisers, and Omaha is always there, and they always have a child speak and always one of the parents speak. And one of the parents who spoke had a daughter who was diagnosed with cancer. And I think at the time they said, well, we're going to need to do treatment and we're probably going to need to amputate part of your leg. And for a 16-year-old, she was like, no, I'd rather just see how this goes. I'm not going to do it. And the doctor's like, she will die if she doesn't do this. And she was not going to do it. She was, scared, probably, mostly. So they said, why don't we send her? She was healthy enough. Why don't we send her on this trip? And I remember the mom going, you're going to take my sick daughter on a trip with a bunch of people I don't know. She was like, hell no. She was said no. They go, we think it'll be great. Anyway, they had her go. The mom sent her, as a worried mom would be. She kept trying to call her daughter on day 2. No answer, no answer. Finally, she gets in touch with the nurse and the people, and they go, "Where the hell's my daughter? What? I knew I shouldn't have said it. What's going on?" They go, "Ma'am, she's having fun. She was having a great time. I think they went skiing. I don't remember where she went." So she was around all these other kids that were also going through the same thing. She came home from the trip and told her mom, this makes me like emotional, "I want the surgery. I don't care if I lose my leg. I want to live. I want to do this." And the mom said that this organization saved her daughter's life. We met that young lady at the event. She is an amputee, but she's alive. She's doing well in school. So things like this is what these kids go through. Just to be around kids that are going through the same things, it's really an amazing organization. But being able to tell those stories, don't cry in front of people. Don't cry. But
They
anyway,
might give you $500.
so anyway, so this is just some of the things. It's really basic. And even if you say, "Hey," they go, "Yeah, I'd love to help. I'd love to." And if you're not sure, you get stuck there, go, "I'll have Mamie call you. I'm gonna have somebody call you. They can go over the details. They can kind of tell you." Because sometimes they'll say, "What do you need? What are you looking for?" And if you're like, "I don't know," we'll call them. So just kind of that stuff. If you just let us know, we will make the call for you, or if you're comfortable doing it. I'm going to pass around. There's letters. I can put there in a Word thing. I can send them to you. You can add your name to them, but they're just the letters that show about the organization, something to give them. I think that's it.
And our date, so everyone has it marked on their calendar, is Thursday, September 8th. September 8th. So make sure you have that. That will be in the parking lot, and hopefully we have good weather.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Maggie, can you pull up the market stats for the first quarter that we've got out? And these have been, Jay? Oh, there you are. I'm like looking up front. These are all online, right? Daryl, Jay? These are all online for people to pull if they want to? Okay. And we're going to try to do a great job of getting these out quarterly and faster than we have here this time around. This one's on me. 2022 year-to-date market for the first quarter. And actually, we're going to change this. Maggie Scott just pulled that. The number's now 220 some. 200.
Yeah.
I think you said like 227. So when we pull these out, so there's like 227 companies in the Omaha market, which shows you how much or how little the majority of them are doing, right? But market share first quarter, 38.5%. We were beating the market. We'll have a graph of that pretty quick. And then you have all the rest of these people here and what they're doing in the marketplace. Active listings, that can literally change. That can be 40% one day, 34 the next, because as we know, listings are changing so much. But this percentage does not include all the broker exclusives. And we're going to show you a graph here in a little bit that shows that the broker exclusives and the off-market things are even substantially up this year over last year. And we thought they were really high last year. So can we go float up to Douglas and Sarpy County? 41.6, 37%. So again, you guys are dominating the market. Use these as things to show our presence, right, to your clients. And I think, what does it mean having the most market share? And what I always say, what it means is that it means, if you're in this office, you're in this company, we have the internal Facebook page. You have the ability to reach out to more productive agents working with more potential buyers on a daily basis, right? We see them in the office. We can reach out to them through our email system. We can reach out to them through the private Facebook system. Your job as an agent is to create interest, right? To drive people to that property, make as many people aware of that as possible. And nobody can do that better than we can because we have more potential buyers than anybody in the marketplace. All right, next graph. So that's what I was just talking about. When you look at this, first quarter, we are up, what, 160 million dollars in closed transactions. And if you look at 160, there's 20, there's 19, there's -7, there's 20, there's -6, there's 4. I mean, our numbers are dwarfing what everybody else is doing in the marketplace. So they can say they're up a higher percentage sometimes, but you guys continue to outperform the market. And I tend to believe, you've heard me say this over the years, is people flock to quality. They're not looking for discounting when the market starts getting tougher. And we're starting to see the market tighten up, and they're going to be looking at who is the agent that can help me get the deal done. So we continue. I'm shocked the number of deals we're doing off market. So here's a graph, next graph, which will show units. Much to my surprise, we've closed substantially more. You can tell the market is really flat. We've been up substantially in closed units year to date. Next graph, please. Average list and average buy side, we continue every year to lead the market on this. So we have kind of what our average list and our average buyer side price is relative to the market. And I think because we got these done after April, Scott, you just went ahead and ran these for the first 4 months, right? Okay. Next one. Luxury market share. And again, luxury. And if you do the luxury collection, it's 750 plus now. It's not 500 plus. When celebrities building $500,000 houses, we're not really considering that luxury anymore. One would argue on a new construction, 750 is probably not even luxury, right? But 750 is our number that we look at because that is still a small percentage of the entire market. This number looks lower than it's been in the past, but I think it's because the graph before of the off-market things. I was on a phone call today with somebody who's got both sides of $1.5 million. We have both sides. We have one agent on one side. We have one agent on the other side. Not hitting MLS. We have more of those deals going through than ever. So this is really a slanted number. We still believe we're very close to 60% of that entire executive market. Next graph. This just shows really, I mean, closed units, we were up 13%. Pendings, we were up almost 3%. Closed sales volume, we were up 25%. Average sales price, we were up 10%. The graphs that we talked about are at the top. The market is flat. Listings year over year, and that's a snapshot on one given day. Again, that number can fluctuate greatly in a given day. But closed units was down for the first quarter for the whole market. Pendings was down almost 8% for the first quarter. We're seeing across the country now, the number we're hearing is 16%. New pending transactions are down for the first 4 months of this year across the country over last year. I was in Florida for Rethink. I'm going to talk about that here in a second. Again, almost every market we're talking to 10, 15, 20% when we're tracking their new pending sales. So we're seeing a slowdown of deals across the country. Closed residentials, average sales price, and new construction. So market data stuff, I think part of the value we bring to our clients is being knowledgeable. So the more knowledge that I think that you guys have, the better you can build relationships and show value to your clients. So in Iowa, we continue to be the last 2 years, the #1 player over in Iowa. And I feel like we're going to continue to do well there. So that's over the last 5, 6 years, we've came out of nowhere. Sales volume is even more impressive. So, and Lincoln, we really feel good about Lincoln. Update on Lincoln. Our market share is we're actually on the map. I mean, we actually have some volume down there. So that's a good sign all by itself.
From 11 to 6.
We went from 11 to 6 and our numbers are way up, but we still don't have a permit. We thought we were going to have a permit down there for new space on 58th and O or something like that, Scott?
Yeah, 56.
56 and O. We're hoping late summer there'll be a new office down there also. So we want to really be relevant in that market, and we think that we have the ability to do that. So anything else? Mag? All right. Guys, grab those. Show of hands. I hope you guys find those valuable when we put these things together for you guys to understand what's going on in the market. And really one of the most important things of masterminds right now, I think, is our conversation about what's the current status of the market. Showings, activity, number of offers on properties, what things are going over list price and so forth. So I think that's important. Rich, you want to come up, you or Allison or somebody on the mortgage side real quick, any of you guys, and give us a quick update. Interest rates actually have stabilized over the last 2 to 3 weeks. They've been bouncing 5.25, 5.5 on that 30-year mortgage. So I'll let Rich give us a quick update on that. But I will tell you, as I continue to talk to people, I think everybody will admit that the number of buyers in the marketplace has came down because of rising interest rates. So shoot away, sir.
Morning, everybody. Yeah, so interest rates, they have kind of moderated a little bit after peaking at probably about 5 3/4. They've retreated to around 5 1/4. And I think today you're going to see another improvement. If you're watching the financial markets right now, the 10-year treasury is down about 12 basis points. What's happening in the world right now? What big economic summit's going on? Anybody know? Davos, Switzerland, right? So you got all world leaders or world economic leaders, CEOs, and all those folks are over there talking about what they expect to see coming on. And so the big rumor is recession, 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 recession. Well, what's that mean to us, right? That should mean a slowing down of the market, what Vince was saying earlier. Hopefully we see inflationary pressure slow down on the next reporting that comes out. And that will mean that maybe the Fed doesn't have to tighten as fast as they think they have to tighten economic policy to take money out of the market. If that happens, we'll continue to see interest rates probably moderate. I don't think you're going to see 2.5 again. I hope you don't, because that means we've got a world issue again. However, if we get down to somewhere around 4.5%,
3.5 to 4%, yeah, is healthy, but below that usually means there's a problem.
When the U.S. economy's GDP is 70% of it's based on housing. 70% of the U.S. economy is based on housing. The Fed can't let it fail. Okay. So a couple things here locally to bring up. So NYFA last week on the 19th, they came out and increased their income limitations for people to qualify and also the purchase price that they'll allow. So they went from a $311,000 purchase price that they'll allow to $349,000 in Douglas and Sarpy County. And they took their 1 to 2 person income limits up for non-targeted
Do I
areas.
need to say what KNIFE is for those who may not know?
NYFA is the bond program. It's kind of so for those of you who don't know, NYFA kind of really represents the first time home buyer market in a lot of ways. It's the first ripple in housing that's got to kind of happen to hit that move up buyer, move up buyer, move up buyer. Yes.
Right now it's 10.
It's still only 10,000. It's still only 10,000.
Right, but aren't they supposed to go to 15?
I have not heard that.
That's what I've been hearing, is they're supposed to go to 15,000.
For those of you that don't know what the HUBA is, a HUBA is a second mortgage that NYFA puts out there over a 10-year period at a 1% interest rate. So let's just do can we do some quick math? We'll nerd out on math for a second. Somebody buys a $200,000 house. They've got good credit. We'll lend them 97% through Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac on a conventional loan. Okay. That's $194,000 of that $200,000, right? They've got to come up with $6,000 plus closing costs. NYFA will give them $10,000 of that $6,000 plus $4,000 to get into the house, leaving that customer with maybe just a couple thousand that they got to come out of their pocket with to get into the home. So that's how NYFA has kind of reacted to what's happened in our local market around rising house prices, taxes, incomes that have to be up to support that, is they've moved their limits up to help more people qualify. So that is a very good thing in this marketplace. Very good thing. Geez, other than that, I mean, what we're kind of, with the volatility that exists in the marketplace, business as usual doesn't really happen today, right? Business as usual with Ukraine going on and inflation happening and some of those things around supply chain, it's not business as usual. So I think on our end, what we're seeing is with that volatility, when we're talking to our customers, they're like, should we buy the rate down? Should we pay a point? Should we pay 2 points to buy the rate down? And when you do some of the math on that and you say, okay, 1 point's going to cost you $4,000, your break even to get that money back is about, 6.5 years. Do you think we're going to have volatility within the marketplace within 6.5 years? Probably. Recession happens. Somebody peels out of the 5.25 and goes down to 4.25. It doesn't cost them anything. So those are kind of the discussions we find ourselves having with customers right now, is what do they do with that extra cash? So that's really it.
Any
We're
questions?
here to help.
The good news is that it stabilized some. All right, thank you. Did you pull numbers for, can you tell me, what's active listings today? Is this this morning?
Last night.
Last night, okay. So total numbers is when we pull out contract pendings for the entire market, including new construction, is 754. But if we take out no-show status of 149, and that number's been holding around 150, 160 over the last couple months, we have 648 active listings, including new construction, in Douglas and Sarpy County right now. Then if we go down to existing only, it's 311, 147 of those are no-show status. So 313, and that's down from 411 last Thursday. Now, what you'll see is Thursday and Friday, historically, we're seeing those numbers. Heather and Jay, you pull those from jump, because that's when everyone starts putting their houses on the market. And then we get down to Monday and Tuesday, or really Tuesday and Wednesday, why all those things got sold and pulled off the market over the weekend, they start coming down. So it's holding there, but it continues to be very low. With that being said,
It's almost double than what we started with this year. 'Cause we were at the
We were really low. So the numbers are coming up in the spring market. Jay has on my desk, Jay, I've got some scribbles on that. So let me give that back to you. Okay. We're trying to make a cheat sheet just to talk about inflation and interest rates and all of the things going on in the economy. So you guys have kind of a little bit of a cheat sheet as talking points for when you're calling your clients and everyone in the marketplace. And so when we talk about interest rates, we talk about less buyers in the marketplace. Again, it's not just interest rates going up. It's so many other factors, right? People are, prices, you hear everybody saying, we're going to have a price increase. And it's not just in real estate. Oh, we're having another price increase. I mean, and cars are doing price increases. It seems like across the board, everybody's doing price increases throughout the year. It used to be something that everyone, vendors would do kind of at the beginning of the year, and then they'd be set with that. But there's so much volatility. But people are looking at the retirement accounts because this volatility in the stock market. And there's so much uncertainty in the economy right now. People are not feeling as good about their investments. They're not feeling as good about their retirement account. They go to the pump and they're paying, outside of Omaha, where it's more expensive. You're paying $100 for a tank of gas. You're going to the grocery store. Someone said, I went and bought 2 bags of groceries and it was like $200. And I'm like, what did I get? So I think it's a combination of all these things that are making people go to the sidelines. But someone was doing an article that I gave some information to. I said, even with all those things being said, right? The war, inflation, interest rates raising, buying power going down, we still have a shortage of listings in the marketplace. We still have more buyers than we have sellers. We're still getting mobile offers on most things. But I would tell you, it leads me into my next thing. Rethink Council was, we had a very, very, very vibrant Rethink Council meeting for a couple of days in Florida last week. We literally went from 8 in the morning till 10 at night on Wednesday, and we had all of this videoed. So we're going to be getting tons of video of best practices, of idea sharing that should get out to us here in the next week or two that we're going to share with you guys. But a couple of things that I jotted down is in some markets in Houston, one of the ladies is starting to market to expireds. She says, we are now actually starting to see expireds. I had tons of people saying, we're back out there doing open houses again. And one lady is going to be sending her program of the 8 steps that she has after doing an open house to stay in touch with somebody that's not working with an agent. So we're going to get a lot of great information. But it was interesting to me as I was listening to people, we're sending out postcards, we're going after expireds, we're doing open houses. Things that I think we kind of got away from over the last couple of years, right? Because things were selling so fast. I talked a little bit about something. I think, Jay, I sent you a text or maybe Gina did. There is nosy neighbor, right? We used to say, why are we not doing nosy neighbors? Listings should be a vehicle to create an opportunity to pick up buyers and other sellers. And so those who don't know what nosy neighbor is, we're going to start pushing that back out there. Why are we not on Thursday night doing a nosy neighbor, inviting the neighborhood to come? Because we know that there's probably in the next 3 to 6 months going to be a couple people in that neighborhood thinking about selling. And if they're thinking about selling, they're probably going to show up at that house and figure out, what's this house listed at? What do I need to do to get my house ready? And we also know that only 1 out of 7 of them, 1 out of 8 of them are going to use their previous agent. So let's use that as an opportunity. I always tell people, if you've got investors or someone that's flipping a house in a neighborhood, you've got a house that probably needed some serious updating, the house that's now pulling down prices in the neighborhood. Now that you've went and updated it, it's updated carpet, whatever they've done to it, roof, new decks, whatever, probably pulling values up in the neighborhood. People are going to come and look at those things. So I think we got to start thinking differently back in more traditional ways of what were we doing to stay connected, to build relationships. Client appreciation parties. This group was crazy in what they're doing. I've talked to you in the past about people doing the photo shoot with dogs in the park. Now there's like 4 people there doing something. And one of them, when they're doing the photo shoots, then they're handing out a branded little thing with the poop bags. I told that to Shannon. She says, that's the worst idea ever. I'm not putting my name on poop bags. But this agent liked it. She says, they can't forget about me. They walk their dog every day. There was little branded jar openers that were, for that people put in the kitchen. We've talked in the past, Margot from Philly had talked about, and then I know Megan's doing it, and I hear another number of other people's, but go to local vendors, a local coffee shop or something like that, that just has generic sleeves on it or something like that and says, can I brand, put your name on one side and put my name on the other side, and I'll pay for 100% of your coffee sleeves. And someone else was doing that at a bar. They said, can I buy all the koozies? And on one side of the koozie, or not koozies, coasters. Thank you. Coasters. You know what I was talking about. Coasters. And on one side, will be the bar's name or the restaurant's name, and the other side is their name. So use local vendors, right? Think differently. Where there are opportunities for you to brand yourself, it saves them money. And all you're doing is paying to put your name out in front of all of the people running through that business. I was shocked at the number of people that had buyer guides, and we're going to be getting copies of 3 or 4 of those buyer guides and exactly what they're saying in there. And I felt that there were some really good things in there that you guys can put in your things. I know a number of you will do in your neighborhoods. I thought I saw Mike earlier, Bjork, like food trucks for the neighborhood you're farming to. We know people, I know you guys have done food trucks here, and neighborhoods they lived in or they were farming, they did a drink truck. I didn't know there was drink trucks, but a couple of them were just like, well, let's have a drink truck in, and from 6 to 9 on this Thursday night, come and have a drink on us and let's socialize and get to meet people. So it was really focused on how do we build relationships. And then someone else is going to send us, that we'll share with you, an unsolicited video that they send out to neighborhoods for a CMA, and they said they got a great response to that. So lots of things. I'm not going to keep going on here about them, but basically the bottom line is I was shocked at how many people saying we're going back to things we weren't before. And we've seen, Maggie, right in the paper, not that the people in the paper, but the open houses, the number of people doing open houses outside of new construction has like been nothing the last 2 years. And I think that's a great way to start building relationships. So use these difficult times. Jay, we'll make sure we get this out here in the next week or two to talk about all the changes going in the market right now, and get out there and share that knowledge with your clients. That's going to create value. That's going to help you build relationships and give you an excuse to reach out to people. Those of you not doing client parties, I would highly recommend you figure out, what do I need to do to have an event? And we're going to share a lot of ideas. We've done this a lot in masterminds over the years. It's not about the event, I keep telling people, right? It's about, how do you invite them? What's the invite? It's an excuse to reach out to people. Andrew Underm out of Baltimore, I said, guys, this is an excuse to reach out to people. He made me do a quick video they sent out to his whole team. He says, now get off your ass, get on the phone. We have a client party this Saturday. I expect everyone to be calling 50 people, inviting them this to remind them of this party. And then the follow-up to open houses, the follow-up after an event party, a client party. And it's just not for your clients, right? It's anybody in your sphere, someone that's referred business to you, that if you believe will do business with you in the future. But everyone that shows up, you only get to see them for a minute or two or talk to them, right? If you have a 2-hour event, you got 100 people show up, that's less than 2 minutes per person. Reach out to them, follow up. I mean, it was great seeing you. I wish I had more time to talk to you. There's gonna be some of those people that you should take that opportunity to get a coffee, a lunch, a breakfast, a drink, or something with, to continue to talk to. So we're gonna get a whole video of a whole library of videos and a bunch of ideas that we're gonna share with you. And I'll get with Daryl and Jay and Heather, and we'll make sure that we get those downloaded for you guys. And then we'll have some classes, probably Jay, on some of those. We'll grab Shelly and stuff like that. But I love the idea sharing that we kind of forced out of everybody this week. Do we have, Heather, I know you have down here verbiage on the appraisal gaps and escalation clauses. Do we have that? We don't probably have that verbiage to put up there, do we?
I can email it to somebody.
Can you email that to Maggie? And then Maggie, can you put that up there real quick? Let's wait till that happens. So the appraisal, Scott, help me on this here. We were having agents write appraisal gap verbiage that was not protecting, depends on which side of the fence they're on, necessarily their buyer or their seller.
Right.
Fair?
And sometimes they were using the purchase price, sometimes they were using the appraisal price.
Right.
It wasn't reading the way you wanted to.
So, and we had a zillion different verbiages out there, I think is right, Daryl? Some too short and some too long. And so we've came up with some verbiage that we want to get out to you guys. But the biggest problem is a lot of times the buyer agent was writing buyer to have a $20,000 appraisal gap or a $10,000 appraisal gap, but they weren't really obligating the seller to say they were accepting that. Is that fair, Scott?
Right.
And so we wanted to make sure that if you're representing the buyer, you got to remember, who do you represent in this transaction, right? If you represent the buyer and they're going to pay an appraisal gap of the purchase price plus, so here's the verbiage we came up with. This is when representing the buyer. In the event that a home doesn't appraise, sell it for $450,000. We're going to say buyer agrees to pay. Let's just say $10,000 here, okay? Basically, $10,000 appraisal gap. In the event the home doesn't appraise, $450,000 purchase price, the buyer agrees to pay a $10,000 appraisal gap is what we're calling it. Okay. Plus appraised price. So they're going to pay the $10,000 plus the appraised price. So now if it appraises for $410,000 and the seller's accepted this verbiage in the contract, the seller has agreed to sell the house for $420,000. The appraisal $410,000 plus the $10,000 that you've put in this verbiage here. Now, we were having people just saying, buyer will pay a $10,000 appraisal gap. It was coming in at $410,000, and it wasn't clear that the seller was obligated to accept that. So then we had deals falling apart. Correct? The appraiser sees those. You have arguments both ways, but a lot of people put anything about an appraisal gap or an escalation clause on outside addendums and just saying that is meant to be part of this contract to make sure that you've tied it together somehow, some way. Right, I get it. And that's a lot of people think that way, Kevin. Yes.
But I had a letter told me they forward the addendums with the purchase agreement to the appraiser. So even if you put it on addendum, in some cases, I guess there's. You're not really supposed to send that addendum to the lender. It's kind of like that between you and the agent and an afterthought. But you have to check it. If you don't include it as part of the purchase agreement and a checkbox, they could not use it. True.
Yeah. So a lot of times it's not getting sent to the lender. If the lender gets, the lender's probably gonna send it to the appraiser. So there's different schools of thought on that. I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong. So does everyone understand why this verbiage matters? And the last part of this does matter. It says up to the agreed upon purchase price. Because if it appraised at $445,000 and you didn't have that last verbiage, you'd be saying the buyer agrees to pay $10,000 plus $445,000. Now you just agree to pay $455,000 for a house that you thought you're buying at $450,000. Does that make sense? So that plus appraised price and this number right here protects the buyer. Now, if you're the listing agent, for God's sake, I want you to go back to your, again, because if it comes at $400,000 or $410,000, you've just agreed to sell the house substantially less than the $450,000 the seller thinks they're going to get. So this is what I would call a floor. I want you to counter back if you're the listing agent saying, in the event that the home price is under $430,000, the seller at the seller's option has the right to void the purchase agreement and return the earnest deposit back to the buyer. Now, some people are saying, can we put in there that the buyer and seller would have the right to negotiate it? Yes, you can put that type of verbiage in there. So if you want to add verbiage like that in there, we don't have any problem with that. I'm just trying to give you the shortest verbiage that protects you. So the question here is, you've got to then go back to the seller and basically find out if this thing doesn't appraise out, what are you willing to accept? If it appraises at $410,000 and they're giving you $10,000, are you willing to sell it at $420,000? I think most sellers thinking they're selling it at $450,000 are going to say no to that, right? If it appraises at $425,000 and they give you $10,000, are you willing to sell for $435,000? We got the house listed at $415,000, it sold at $450,000. They may be able to. They're going to have a number. You need to walk through with them what that number should be. So I would say to protect your seller, come back and put something like this. Just don't leave them unprotected. It comes in at $400,000 because we had this last year. Sold at $450,000, came in at $400,000, $10,000 appraisal gap. That seller got obligated to sell that house at $410,000. And they're pissed.
We got one right now. It's a $1.5 million house. The appraisal came at 1.2.
Right.
Now, they don't have that language.
I was talking to that person today.
Yeah.
Now, the good news is they have a backup offer for more than 1.5 as of this morning. Yes. So does everyone understand this? All we want to make sure is you're protecting whoever you're representing, the buyer and or the seller. And we were having deals fall apart and then pissed off buyers or sellers because we didn't have the right verbiage in there. Yes.
So in a purchase agreement, when notes in there that it's subject to an appraisal, that isn't protecting.
So let's take it, let's take a step back. The buyer doesn't even need to put in there if done properly. So Scott, if I get this wrong, tell me. If it's 20% or less down, if the buyer's getting a conventional loan of 20% less down, FHA or VA, you don't even need to put verbiage in there, it's subject to an appraisal, because if the financing contingency is filled out properly, saying that buyer's getting a 95% loan to value or putting 5% down, the financing verbiage in the purchase agreement already basically says it's subject to an appraisal. So if there's no appraisal gap thing here, and the 450 appraises at, and you get 20% or less down, appraises at 425, 430, the buyer would have the right to walk from that because it's subject to the appraisal. Now, a lot of listing agents, because we have more uneducated agents today than I've ever seen before, don't understand that. So my recommendation is do not put, tell me if you guys disagree, I think we agree on this, right? Do not put the verbiage in there, subject to an appraisal. If you're getting financing with 20% less or down, all you're doing is bringing it to the attention of the listing agent and of the buyer. You've already got the buyer protected in there.
But the reason to put it in is if you're willing to pay an appraisal gap, that's an advantage in your
Right.
negotiation.
Right. If you're willing to pay an appraisal gap, then you put in different verbiage, because then you're basically saying, we don't know if it's going to appraise out or not. We want to do this. But if we're back in a normal market and it doesn't appraise out, your financing contingency on those deals. Now, if you're putting more than 20% down or paying cash and the appraisal is important to the buyer that you want it to appraise out at a certain price, then you need to be putting verbiage in there stating home must appraise at a certain price, or the buyer has the right to walk from the contract. Did I answer your question? Okay.
One thing I found out, it depends on what lender you're working with. I have a deal going right now.
Right. So you got a lot of lenders, yeah, that people were doing 30+%, 40, 50%. They're not making it subject to an appraisal at all. They're not doing the appraisal. I'm assuming some of you have done that and seen that. Yeah. You got an 800 credit score and someone's paying 20% down. The lender's like, we're good at that.
So in that event, we've had some buyers that say they still want the appraisal, but they still want to know what the value of the home is.
Right.
So what do you do in that situation as far as working with that lender or whatever, when it's not subject to it, but the buyer still wants?
So the question is, if you got a buyer that says, I still want the appraisal, I put 30% down on the property. If you've not wrote in the purchase agreement, it's subject to an appraisal. Once you go over 20%, the buyer's basically agreeing to that. So you would have to write verbiage in the purchase agreement, right, Scott? If you got a lender that's you're putting 30, 40% down saying it, or 20% down saying it's not subject to appraisal, and the appraisal is important to you, you got to write verbiage in the purchase agreement saying it's subject to home appraising at X.
Well, the lender shouldn't care anyhow, right? Because the buyer's paying for the appraisal.
Right.
You want to.
The lender doesn't care, but the seller's going to not let you out of the contract if you don't have verbiage in there.
But it's not an automatic if you put 30% down that they're not going to do it.
No.
So do you have to put that red flag in there and alert this? I mean,
If you're putting more than 20% down and the appraisal, again, we're talking about a different world, because today's world, we're talking about the opposite conversation. More often than not, we're putting an appraisal gap in there than we're talking about, is it going to appraise out for the buyer or not? But if you're putting more than 20% down and the appraisal is important to the buyer, you need to be putting verbiage in there.
why?
Because if the house appraises, if you put 30% down, the lender's going to lend you 80% loan to value of the appraised price or the purchase price, whichever is less.
Right?
So if it appraises 10% low and you put 30% down, you're still committed to buy that house.
And it doesn't matter, but I mean, I know we've seen if it's access unless things have changed, the lender will still come and say, well, we're only going to do this much, or their loan to value might be less. They don't always automatically say you have it.
That's what I'm saying. So the lender's going to pay 20%. They're still going to say, put 20% down. We're going to give you 80% loan to value. But if you put 30% in the contract and it only pays 10% low, you're still obligated, right, Scott? You're still obligated. Now, if it pays 20% low, then you might be, then you'd be okay. But
Are you better as a buyer in the contract, even if you plan on putting 30, put 20%?
well, we've had that conversation in masterminds and other people saying, okay, if you're going to put 30, 40%, 50%, do you put 20% to protect yourself on the appraisal thing? If we get back to a normal market, maybe that's a strategy. But then if you're the listing agent and the seller, what's a stronger offer? The person putting down 50% or 40% or the person putting down 20%? So yeah, pick your poison.
Better hope that the listing agents are looking at how much they're putting down, because typically they're just looking at like total sales.
Well, again, it comes back to what we said, you better hope, well, if you're the buyer's agent, you don't really care. If you're the listing agent, you know, we got more uneducated listing agents. They're just looking at the price and other things. They're not looking at the down payment, the financing contingencies of that. So let me take a step backwards.
Listing agents also need to look at what they put down for the interest rate.
Yes, they do. That's a big issue we've had, right?
Very quickly.
As interest rates have changed so much here, you're seeing people put in their interest rate not to exceed 4.5% or 5%. Well, we've already got 30-year mortgages at 5.25% to 5.5%. So as a listing agent, make sure that that interest rate is at or above what the market is that they can get right now. You know, if I'm the listing agent, if 5.25% is the market today, I would like that not to exceed interest rate to be 5.5%. So those are all things that we're seeing that we had not seen before. And so the question is, are we coming back to a normal market where some of these things that we've been having buyers do, right? Not subject to, there was a couple markets I talked to, they're like, oh, everyone's getting home inspections now. No, but we were telling people, if you're under 400,000, 500,000, midtown, you know, to get this deal, you may have to not have a home inspection. You're gonna have to put an escalation clause or ask, you know, well over list price. You're gonna have to put an appraisal gap in there. You have to pay the seller's closing costs. You have to, you know, all of these things. We're starting to see in some price points, less and less of that take place. So it's gonna be interesting to see how the rest of this year shakes out. But I think it's reasonable to expect that we're gonna continue to have multiple offers and things sell over list price if they're priced properly and updated. But I think it's also reasonable to expect we are gonna have less buyers and less multiple offers on the majority of houses. I understand, because somebody else says, I had one the other day that had 25 offers. I get that. They're still out there. Okay, but they're not at the magnitude they were before. And that one they got 25, probably we got 50 a year ago. Questions, thoughts about the market, guys? Bottom line is, if you're not hustling, you're not working, you're not building relationships, you're not trying to do something to stir up business, you're going to be on the sidelines with no business. What are we at now? Someone tell you, what, 3,500 agents in the marketplace now? I mean, the number's crazy. We're doing less deals and we keep adding every year 100 or 200 agents over the last dozen. We went from 1,900 agents to 3,500 agents over the last 13 years here.
I was gonna say, in that vein, if we have a lot of new agents in the room, don't freak out if you're slow right now. May is slow. Graduation, it's slow.
Yes.
Take a vacation, go to the spa, it's slow. It'll pick up. Ask for a donation. Ask for a donation. Yeah, it'll pick back up.
Julie, and then we're going to wrap this up.
I was wondering to get your opinion on it, because it's been such a hot topic. And
Yes.
These out of state, out of country conglomerates coming in and buying up real estate, making the rental companies, it's making it even harder for first time home buyers to enter into the market.
So I think I referenced, and Jay, as I'm reading the sheet you gave me, you watched the whole 60 Minutes article and you've referenced a number of things in that sheet from the 60 Minutes article that was almost 2 months ago today. It was the end of March, right? Okay, thank you. That 60 Minutes article said a number of things, right? We've talked about inflation at 40, 50-year highs. We talked about that, interest rates have increased at a faster speed over the last, we said this a month ago, so now it's in the last 120 days, maybe anytime more than any time over the last 40 years. But to this point, this article says a couple things. It says, one of the reasons I do not believe, the underlying issue to all this is I do not believe the value of homes will go down. They said, which I think is a low number, that we are 4 million houses undersupplied for single family houses of homeownership needs in the country. They also said that we've had historical rent increases the last 18 to 24 months. But they also said, so this defies logic, but they also said we've had more investors individuals, but institutional, which is what you're really talking about, right, Julie? We've had more institutional investors buying houses at historic high prices, right? Investors loved 2008, 9, and 10 because they are buying houses at historic low prices relative to where they were. But the question is, why are investors buying houses at historically high prices? And it's basically because they believe values are not going to fall. People are taking money out of the market and other things to put into real estate because they believe at the end of the day, at least over the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to continue to have a shortage of homes relative to the need. You can't build houses fast enough. And I'm hearing nationally that builders are going to probably build about 20% less houses this year than last year. They're slowing down. That's supply chain issue. That's a number of things. But the answer is no. I think institutional investors, you're having people pull money out of the markets and to go over to real estate because they see that as a safeguard. Bet, right? Hedges against inflation is buy things. And so I tend to think because they believe rents have went up 14 years in a row. There's been no stopping to this. I believe rents will continue to go up. And they're like, if we can cover our nut on this, right? Someone else is going to pay off this mortgage over the next 15 years. We believe the thing will continue to appreciate. It's not going to drop in value. We're very confident rents can keep going up. The concern is you're seeing Minneapolis. I know there's a number of markets now that are saying we've got to put caps on how much we can increase rents because some of these markets are increasing rents 30, 40% year over year the last 2 years. I mean, it's just crazy numbers. Florida, it was like 35% in some markets on it. Rents were going from $2,000 a month to $3,000 plus a month in a very short period of time. So I think institutional investors are going to continue. We're not seeing you're seeing tons of that on the coastal markets. It's starting to infiltrate into here because our rents actually do cover. Some of those rents in those markets are not covering their costs. So I tend to believe you're going to continue to have investors buying real estate because they feel like it'll hold its value. Is that your question?
Yeah, it's just hard to compete.
It's hard to compete when you're first-time home buying. People are coming in, we'll pay cash, no inspection, close in 15 days, right? Because that's what they're doing. D.R. Horton, they're one of the people that told me that they're going to build 20% less houses this year, but they're planning on building substantially more houses than they did last year. And the conversation I had with the regional president out of Des Moines 2 weeks ago Friday.
Because they're just getting all those emails, like they drop prices, $5,000 bonuses to agents.
They're doing $5,000 bonuses, paying out 3%. They want to run as much velocity through there as humanly possible. So according to them, they're going to continue to accelerate the number of houses they're building. As they're accelerating them, they're going to get more aggressive. All right, guys, thank you for showing up. I apologize for us not getting notices out on this. Good guy, good guy. Yes, who was it? Sheila? Was it Sheila? I forget that every damn time. Sheila is our good lady is going to hand out the good guy award.
Okay. Good gap. All right, so being a fairly new agent, this individual, I was standing at the printer and she came in.
You hear her out there in the, they don't hear you out there.
Okay, can you hear me now?
No.
All right, well, this individual came out. I was standing at the printer and she just came over and talked to me and I'm like, I don't know who the hell this person is. And she was like, well, how are things
But sounds like she's going to get the
going?
good girl award.
Yeah. Anyway, she was super sweet. She's like, well, how are things going? And she just started talking to me and I sat over here in the cubes and she just started walking by every day. And she's like, oh, how are things going? Oh, do you need help with anything? And I was like, no. And finally I figured out her name, right? And I was like, she's super sweet. So then I started asking people about her. And she just continually always has a positive attitude. She loves her family. She loves what she does, and it definitely shows. So I want to give this to Janice Johnson. Here.
Now you're crying.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Guys, Keep working. I hope we don't have any Brian top tens for at least another 10 years. Guys, go out there. There's business to be had, but you've got to make an effort to drum that business up. Thank you.